I'm not open yet. Hmm. Like these. Hey, can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hey, folks. Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, Jim, can you hear us now?
I can hear you guys now. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Okay, we're good. Thanks,
Okay,
Jim.
so
I got working order.
ordinance section 296-144 restricts the hours of operation on a B2 zoned lot where it abuts a residential lot to between 5 a.m. and 12 midnight. They, so far, based on the testimony, they fit within those hours, but wearing my Swami hat.
Yes, I was gonna ask.
He was gonna ask, I'll tell you what he's gonna ask. He's gonna ask, even though you satisfy the ordinance, and even though you do not require a setback variance in the rear, do you think, or would you be willing to restrict the parts delivery, since Beans also owns the part delivery outfit, to working hours and not after 8 p.m.?
That would be very helpful.
Wait.
That was his question.
That was my question.
That's what he was gonna
You got
ask.
it. You got it.
Okay, so
Let him answer first, then.
Yeah, the testimony up until this point was
Right,
that
right.
we owned the parts facility,
right.
and typically it's done after hours.
right.
So we
I'm
end at
asking.
8. So now the question is, Mr. Giannotti, can we arrange for parts deliveries to be done during operating hours, which would be 7 in the morning to 8 o'clock?
That wouldn't be a problem.
Okay,
Good window.
Yeah, thank you. for doing that.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that the only standard we wanted to go through at this point?
unless Jessica thinks there's something else that's very important.
No, I think your engineer and planner can
Yeah.
address those.
Perfect, great.
I was just trying to ascertain, did you need a setback, variance in the rear where the people were? And she was like, no. And I know I know their tendencies, and I was figuring that was his question, and it was, and I think you're satisfied now, right?
Yes, absolutely.
The timing of that was
Thank
perfect,
you.
so I appreciate the help. Okay, so I think that handles all of the deliveries that we were discussing. A couple other things had come up during the review letters. Let's talk about the staging areas for receipt of new vehicles. Where does that occur?
On the new vehicles come off the truck and get moved to the inventory lot for processing.
And then when a customer is coming to pick up a new vehicle, where do they pick that vehicle up from?
The manufacturers, as of late, have been asking us to make sure that they can deliver the vehicle undercover. So the building itself, the store itself will have room to deliver 2 vehicles inside in a climate controlled environment with 2 garage doors that after the buyer receives the car, is trained on the car, they can drive right out through there. So there's no more in the front of the dealership where the doors are open and you're learning about the car in the freezing weather. Everything is done inside the shop. So both the Toyota building and the Nissan building, Jim, is designed with 2 garage doors.
And those are on the architectural drawings that Jim will present later on in the presentation.
That's correct.
And I think you testified that happens for both Toyota and Nissan, correct?
Yes, it does.
Those architectural drawings you're referring to are the ones that were emailed over this afternoon to the board?
Correct. And I have them here as exhibits as well.
So have any of the board professionals had an opportunity to study those architectural drawings yet? No, okay, that's what I figured.
I don't think we're going to get to him tonight.
Yeah.
My plan was to put him on after the engineer.
Yep.
Who I think is going to take a while.
Yep.
Okay, so that takes care of staging areas for new vehicles. Why don't we also discuss, there was a question regarding, in Mr. Jargy's report, washing and preparation of new vehicles for display and customer delivery. Where does that occur?
The way that we designed these two buildings, in the Toyota building, there'll be ample amount of wash bays, as we call them, to prep cars and get them ready for delivery, both at the Nissan store and at the Toyota store. So we'll be sharing that service between the two buildings.
It's all interior, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, with obviously appropriate drainage and et cetera to handle the washing and the residuals that come off that.
Yes,
Which building will that be in?
that will be in the Toyota building.
And that's in the architecturals as well?
Yes.
So I think that covered that. Kelly will cover staging and delivery of the new vehicles and vehicle service areas. Let's talk a little bit about waste. What's the way that you handle garbage and recyclables, if any, at the current location?
At most of the stores, we have a fenced-in area where the trash dumpsters are put. The dumpsters get changed, get dumped out anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week, depending on the volume at the store. So we have a standard trash bin, we'll have a recycled trash bin, and then we'll have an area for metal scrap. And that will all be in a fenced-in area that's not visible until the gates are open for the truck.
And that's the way it's being handled here as well, and that's shown on the site plan, correct?
That's the way that we've always been doing it now.
Okay, and there's a shielding of those areas that the engineer will be able to testify to.
The fence itself has slats in it that prevent you from seeing through, but allow the wind to go through without any problems.
And you said that's 2 to 4 times a week. Is that a private pickup?
Yes, it is.
And that's of everything, trash, recyclables, and metal and scrap.
Metal and scrap isn't as frequent because we don't build that up as much, rotors and things along those lines, and that is if it's scheduled once a week, but if it's needed, we call them in sooner just so it doesn't pile up.
The trash pickup, that's in the rear of the buildings also?
Yes, it is.
And all that is, I'm assuming, kept in orderly fashion. It's not outside of the designated areas.
Mr. Beans is very adamant about those dumpsters staying clean.
When would those take place?
They usually get emptied between 9 and 10 in the morning.
Ah, okay.
Because then what they do, they give us the opportunity to empty it, and then if we have stuff sitting on the side, refill it and dump it again, the same. So,
Okay, so you wouldn't mind that being imposed as a condition that the trash pickup be in the morning between 9 and 10 again, since it's in the rear to shield those residences back there.
well, just I'd like a little bit more of a buffer before,
So this-
more than 2 hours. If
Right,
that's
so,
possible.
so give it, what kind of hour?
Can we do it between 8 and 12?
Sure,
That's fine.
yep,
And again, we use a private service so we can dictate those hours to them.
yep.
That mix,
Jim,
excuse me,
repeat.
but does,
Jim, you wanted to ask a question?
yeah, does the recyclable material include tires? Got a situation where their tires being piled outside. You remember?
Oh, tires?
Yeah, he
Sure.
wants to know about, what do you do with the old tires?
Understood. The old tires are enclosed in these areas that we have both the dumpsters and all the separate gate that leads to that. They're stacked up neatly. And then once a week, good tire guy comes and takes them actually for free. So they're
Is that your normal practice now?
throughout all the
If we
stores.
go around and look for it, that's what we will see.
That you do have that in the spot now, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else you have to say with regard to trash pickup?
No, I think we covered it. As I said, we don't allow it to get outside the building. Okay.
Jim, when you ask a question, you have to stay right in front of that microphone on your laptop and just keep on talking. When you pull back your head, it like stops.
Well, I wasn't asking, I'm just saying, good. Happy with their response.
Oh, okay. He
Oh,
said,
okay.
good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and if there's any necessary amending of the plans to better label these areas and the way that these things are going to be handled, you'd be willing to amend the plans to do that, obviously, as any condition.
No problem.
Okay. Just a couple more things in the board engineer and landscape architects review letter, the last one dated January 23rd. There were a number of comments regarding landscaping, correct?
Yes, there were.
Okay, and our engineer is going to testify with regard to responses to those questions. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you are willing to comply with the responses that the engineer is going to testify to?
We have no problem complying with anything he testifies to.
Okay, one of the comments that he's going to make is with regard to the request to install an irrigation system along Route 202.
Okay, what item is that in his
So
report?
that is, I'm sorry, I didn't label it.
Garrett, 55.
55. And in that number 55 is asked for us to install a, let me just get the exact language. We recommend that an irrigation system be installed along the tracks Route 202 frontage and at high visibility locations within the site. Does the Beans Company install irrigation systems?
No, we've never installed landscape irrigation systems in any of the facilities.
And do you have a practice for maintaining and replacing landscaping?
Yes, we do. We hire landscapers and guys that will mow the lawn and take care of the shrubs and the trees. On a new building, we will plant them per the specification with the gator bags and all those things, and we'll keep after them going forward. But we've never installed irrigation in any of the buildings.
Have you had any problems with maintaining the aesthetic look or the healthiness of the landscaping in your other locations?
No, we haven't. We've done a real good job of keeping things watered well until they're rooted and also germinating. And from that point, they seem to do very well.
And if one of them died and needed to be replaced, or a number of them died and needed to be replaced, would you replace them?
Without a doubt.
That would be.
So I do have a clarifying question. I understand about landscape. How about the irrigation system? Do you have any experience of maintaining that?
I don't have any experience maintaining it at the Beans organization. I have an irrigation system at my home, and I understand what you're saying as far as blowing out all the solenoid valves and all those things. It can be done, but it has to be managed very well.
And so you guys will.
Well, we're asking that we are not imposed upon to put a irrigation system in.
In other words, they're bringing up item 55 as something they don't want to do. He's explained that they don't have irrigation in any of their other facilities. That's what he's saying.
Are
And-
any of your other facilities located in a large area, select fill with red shale soil with not very good soils
Exactly.
beneath it?
I don't know.
You don't have experience, but if you're gonna tell me-
All I could say is if they are, everything is flourishing and doing very well. Fred is very much on top of landscaping throughout all the buildings. And we do a lot of maintenance on those.
You're using landscape, but I'm making a distinction between that and an irrigation system. So that's why the question.
Well, the reason we don't need the irrigation system is the landscapers do such a good job of keeping things on a spot.
Well, how often do they, you say you got gator bags, how often do they check them and how often do they water? Because that's a pretty labor intensive, way to do it. I mean,
Well, that's only for the new planting. We just finished the Volkswagen building last summer in Doylestown. And there were hundreds of pieces of landscaping there, trees and shrubs and everything else. And We made sure that those gator bags were filled with a water truck, did that, and made sure that they were filled until the trees were well rooted into the fall.
Yeah, because I mean, it takes at least a year for that to happen, right? And we,
Yes,
you
it
know,
does.
this past summer, we had temperatures up in the 100 degrees for like a week, and established material was dying. So
And we were at a disadvantage also because our townships in Doylestown and Langhorne imposed no watering. So even though those plants were put
But
in.
we didn't have that out here. We had plenty of water.
so
Well, that's much better for us then. We'll use
Well,
that
no,
water
no,
and keep
no, no.
things
When we say
alive.
we have plenty of water, meaning it wasn't raining a lot, it was also dry, but if you had an irrigation system, your landscaping was okay. That's what he's saying.
I mean, what's the opposition to putting in a drip irrigation system? I mean, it's very efficient. It gets underneath the mulch, so instead of just watering, the mulch layer, it gets into the roots.
I think the understanding where you're coming from, we could certainly go back and discuss it. I think that what we wanted to present to the board was that we have not had it at all these other facilities. He's very dedicated to make sure.
Yeah, why don't you go
that
back and
looks
discuss
good.
it?
Yeah, because we've been,
And bonding can also be an option as well. That's just something I wanted.
yeah.
Well,
we-
but
Place on the
if-
record.
right, I understand, but if they're more interested, no one's interested in collecting someone's bond.
I hear you.
They're interested in having flourishing landscaping.
Yeah. And it's been more common practice that we request irrigation,
Okay.
especially.
And the results just speak for themselves. I mean, we typically require it for all.
You don't want to look like the Flemington Circle sign?
Exactly.
What's the cost on that? I'm just curious. What would that,
Ask them.
what would be the cost for an irrigation system?
With the drip irrigation system.
It would be depending on the areas that we put in. I'd have to get it priced.
We'll go
Yeah.
back and look into that.
Yeah.
Certainly will. Understanding where you're coming from.
But I'd also like to know too, that we're currently operating the 4 buildings in the township. The Toyota building, the Nissan building, CarStar and Hyundai. And if you drive by and look at those properties, without irrigation, they're very well maintained,
Right, but they're long-established planting beds.
with the exception of the Hyundai store, which had some new plantings with just some.
Anyways, please look at it.
We'll look at
We'll
that.
look at it.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all questions I have.
So I have some operational related
Please.
questions. Could you please share with me how, and the board, how many display vehicle spaces do you have at your current facilities? How many
As
designated spaces for display facilities?
as far as the
the
exact
cars.
number, we use what we call the front line that will face the main road. And that front line is filled with our display vehicles there, and that varies per as many as there could be.
I probably should clarify myself. Vehicles that are parked on the site as part of your storage, which includes, I guess, from your term, the display vehicles. How many spaces do you have at your current 2 dealerships?
Can I make a suggestion? Can you flip to sheet 37? Because that shows the parking configuration. Some
Right.
things
Well,
in
that's,
green and some
that's
things
the
in red.
existing. I know that. I'm asking at his, as
You want to know what the existing?
existing
No.
facility, the proposed facility, he's
Got it.
proposing
Yeah.
Okay,
252.
I wasn't following you. Now I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so now I don't know the exact, I
You
don't
don't
know
know?
the exact
We'll
number.
get that number for you.
Okay. And
So
and-
current number, I just want to make sure I get exactly what you're looking for.
Mhm.
The number of designated display vehicle parking spaces.
Right, so it would exclude employee parking, customer parking, and all those spaces.
I'm sorry, I think what Ms. Cruz is asking for is inventory parking,
Inventory parking, yeah. okay.
including display.
Ah,
Yeah,
Okay, which would
Right.
exclude any service parking.
Right.
So
Right,
no
service.
employees, no service,
Yeah.
no customers,
correct.
everything else.
For the current
Right.
Toyota and
For the
Nissan.
current, yep.
And then at their existing facilities, how many repair bays do you currently have? So,
I will get you that information.
okay. And then a third thing kind of related to operational is within the storage display areas, what's the longest run of stacked vehicles that you have?
You mean bumper to bumper?
Mhm.
Currently,
That's parked that way according to your site plan, because I have a feeling there's some that are parked that may not be according to site plan. So
On your site plan, you're proposing
13,
like five deep stack
even longer, yeah.
inventory. Right? You're talking
Right.
stack.
yes.
So it looks like five is what you guys are stacking. And I guess what Mr. is asking is that something that you do?
Is that she wants to know, what do you do on the existing site?
Right,
Right.
because I believe that doesn't comply with our ordinance.
Well, that's one of the areas of relief they need, which is a
Yep.
D3 variance.
Yep.
Because of the 296-150, probably B, 'cause it's
Yeah.
probably a design
Yes.
standard.
So I'd appreciate that information. I
Sure.
think it can make us evaluate them, what current versus what you're proposing on the new site.
We'll get that back for you.
Thank you.
Do you want to wait to hear about this at the next hearing session, or do you want them to submit something in writing so you can see it ahead of time?
I think that would probably speed things along.
Oh,
but-
absolutely. To the extent that we can get answers and provide them in writing with attachments, we'll certainly do that.
Okay. And if it's coming from this witness who's a fact witness, can it come on your letterhead,
Yes,
not the engineers? It will be easier to,
100%.
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. One last thing. In your testimony, you said that you currently, at your current facility, you have 46 employees, sales, service, and, kind of all around. I guess I'd like a little more clarity, because when I look at how many employees do you anticipate having at the new facility, or was I mishearing or wrote it down wrong that it's 46 at your current facility?
Currently, we have 46
Okay,
employees at the current Hyundai store
okay, but
And
with,
proposed.
and proposed. It'll be,
but you're going to
same.
be increasing the number of bays substantially. Wouldn't that dictate more employees?
well, there's a lot of wash bays that are included in that bay count. Car wash bays and not mechanic bays.
Okay,
So, and each bay is not assigned to a single mechanic also, sometimes there's many bays assigned to one mechanic and a daily basis, depending on what they're working on. So we think that that number is a good employee number going forward into
Okay.
the new store.
all right, thank you.
Dealerships? Combined?
Yes, not combined, separate, 46, 46. Yes.
Couple questions. The new facilities, you'll service hybrids and electric cars?
Yes, we will.
And is there any special equipment that is different or that for that service?
Well, we'll designate in those buildings, when the time comes with Jimmy with the architecture, we'll designate EV bays. We have certain jigs and tools that we have to buy from the manufacturer for removal of the battery. We'll have a battery storage area where it will go. And the proper equipment that the techs need to use while working around those cars, they will have, as we do now, special gloves, special shields, garments, things along those lines.
Mhm.
So we will follow all the manufacturer as well as any codes that pertain to EV chargers or usage in the
Okay.
car, batteries, etc.
And Jeff, we don't have anything around EV battery storage or anything like that that we need to be concerned with. Ordinances.
No.
Okay. I want to go back to the question of the size. So if I did some research, and I'm not saying I'm an expert by all means, but I'm just confused. Car sales for the last 7 or 8 years have gone down, correct?
As far as the numbers on revenue and those kind of things, I'm not really well versed to answer that.
Okay, because if you look at it, 2015 was the peak, and ever since then, car sales have gone down, are in half. And I'm just curious do you need the size buildings that you are proposing?
You have to reach a critical mass to be able for the dealership to be profitable. You have to be able to do a number of service visits and oil changes and all those things have to be taken into account when you're designing the building. You would think that you wouldn't even need a building with the way internet sales are.
Mhm.
But I service, I go around to many of our buildings, I oversee over 40 stores and buildings in our portfolio. And I'm amazed, and I tell Kara this, and I tell Jim this too. I'm amazed when I come out of my office and walk down into the showroom of the Ford store, how many people are in there buying cars, and I go up to the Lincoln store. There's a flurry of activity around car buying that I'm seeing. Now, I'm no expert, and I can't tell you, how much more it is than 2015, et cetera. But I do know that our lots are full with inventory, and we're selling cars at all the dealerships. There's none of
Do
the
you have-
dealerships are
Do you have a
struggling
turnover rate?
of cars or
Yeah.
of,
Do you have like, you turn over the cars?
I could find that out for you. I don't know that, but I could find that out.
I think
for you.
that would help. I don't understand. My concern is that the landscaping, that we're losing trees and we're not putting in islands, if I read it correctly. And I'm just concerned, can we get rid of, if we can cut down the size of the building or the number of parking spots, can we keep the canopy trees that we're losing? That's where my concern is. And
We can look into that because we do meet the parking requirements. So if there's some.
You meet the parking requirement. She's saying, how about the landscaping in the parking area requirement?
I understand. What I was
Yeah.
getting at is, since we meet the parking requirements, if there is a preference to maybe not meet the parking requirements and impose some additional landscaping.
Well, just a clarification, the number of display spaces is totally discretionary on your part. There's nothing in the ordinance that requires that.
Understood.
Okay, so
Absolutely
that's
understood.
more than half of your parking on your site.
Again, so we can look at the parking requirements versus the discretionary items and maybe have some discussion as to a trade-off, if it's, more preferable for a parking variance as opposed to a landscape design waiver and.
You don't,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, you don't need a variance for parking.
no, what she's saying is
Do a trade-off.
switch
Put in
it.
the landscaping and
Switch
get
it.
a parking variance.
Get the variance for parking.
No, you don't need a parking variance.
Well, she's saying that Board Member Drews is saying, don't lessen the number of employee parking spaces, lessen the number of inventory parking.
Right. It's parking space, it's parking
Which
space.
would not
There
need a
is no
variance for that.
requirement for the number of inventory spaces. They can eliminate inventory spaces. They don't need it.
Right. Right.
So that's, I just wanted to get
Okay.
the record correct. You don't.
Yeah.
And
So,
Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding when I'm looking at our required versus provided.
No, she's
So-
not, she's not talking about required. She's talking about providing, and Jay wants to say. something.
And just have your engineer take a look at the parking chart and the plan, because it's based on 15 employees per dealership
We're-
building,
we're
not
addressing that.
46.
We're
Okay, so-
addressing that.
the only thing that I would like to add to the employee count is that's total payroll. So when we talk 46 people, we talk
Yeah.
46 people are going to be paid from Toyota.
Right, but they asked you before, what's the maximum number of employees you'd have on site at any one time? You said conceivably it could be 46.
46.
Well, if that's the maximum number you could have on site at any one time, then Jay's right. The parking calculation for employees is wrong.
And we realized that because we just realized the number, so our engineer was prepared to talk about that. So we're right there. I do, though, want to make sure I understand from, your perspective, what's required versus discretionary and what we have to play with and what we don't.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the spots you want to look at is that where you're talking about the stacking in the rear,
Mhm.
it backs up to the residential area. The islands you got in there are really kind of small, so you're not really going to get any good, screening or buffering in that area. So if you could expand that area along the perimeter, provide enough room for some evergreen trees and things like that, I think would be a big help.
So the other question, so I want to go back to what I was referring to is on Jeff's report, number 38, where it talks about waivers requested for section 296, 75S for tree canopy disturbance of 68%, where 68.5%, where 55 is the maximum allowed disturbance. So you're building the site, you're gonna wipe out a lot more than we were hoping. We've had some experience recently with another site, so it's kind of front and center, so.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, exactly.
So again, even like, we're thinking if you wipe out the last row of the inventory and put trees, or you don't have to, if you wipe out the last row of the inventory and you don't have to take out more trees, again, just some,
Put it this way, what the chair is saying, the board members' antennas are up now for waiver requests or exceptions from 296-75 S2.
Yep.
Because they feel like they got burned and they don't want to get burned again. And they want to see if you can keep it at 55% and
Yeah.
not seek any exception. That's what
And-
that's what she's asking.
and to give you some information that happened, so you understand where we're coming from. What happened was is they took out trees that are extremely old and then impacted the site view from the residents further down. So what we thought was going to work is now 81 trees at 100 feet tall are gone. So we're not saying, we're just saying trees are important.
Understand.
So,
We understand. We'll be sensitive to that issue.
And just to add one more thing, that would be the major concern from the neighbors. So if you're able to protect that, that's only going to help the application. One other, since chairperson mentioned about the dealership, I read a little bit about future dealerships or new dealerships. And we talked about internet sale, and I'm not surprised what you were saying about critical mass. But I do see trend, just food for thought, of reduced showroom space with the new types of dealerships. Again, I'm not an expert, but I was concerned in a very similar way. So something for you guys to think about, and that way you can reduce the size of the buildings too.
Well, do you have internet sales? Do you have people who will go on the internet? Okay, so if I go on the internet and I say, okay, I like this Toyota 4Runner, and I go ahead, I can order it there, and then how do I get it? I go to the dealership and it's there?
Or we'll deliver to you when it comes in.
Yeah, that's why the showroom
Okay.
size is getting.
Yeah. No,
yeah,
that's
and
the,
that's what I was kind of asking is, does Fred Beans have a business model where he has a large site or a small site? And thus, we did this with another applicant and they were like, no, the business model is the business model is the business model. So we need these 19 variances. So that's all I'm saying is if there's a business model that Fred Beans will consider, we just want to make it known that we're
Sure.
bringing it up.
The only
That'd be very
concern,
helpful.
the only concern that we have is that just as we come in on the site development and the land development that we're doing tonight and asking for some variances, the manufacturers are extremely strict on following as much as if we could fit 25 bays, but the mandate is 26. We have to fight for a variance to build a building with 25 bays versus the 26. We just lost a battle with Hyundai on that, where we had to add an extra bay just to meet their requirement. So some of it isn't dictated by Fred. More of it is dictated by the manufacturer
Right,
saying.
but they're not asking you to cut down the number of service bays. They're asking you to take a look at this, at
No,
the
we-
showroom.
Well, if
we
this all
understand.
this all can,
Yeah. Some things are from the manufacturer. Yeah.
And what I can explain to this board, and if some of you recall, this is something we were before you on the
Oh, yeah.
Hyundai site.
Correct.
We make the ask. That is our requirement to
Yeah.
make the ask.
Yep.
And what this board decides, conditions upon, allows, is what this board decides, conditions upon, and allows. So, but our obligation is to make the ask.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, a corporation can ask what they want, but they're not here.
right?
And
Understood.
does it fit for this town?
I-
and all
A prime
corporations
example,
do.
which we used in that other case, was McDonald's, right? The Golden Arches. Well, the McDonald's in Westfield,
Oh, yeah. No
there's
way.
there's no Golden Arches.
No.
It
How about the
doesn't
Dunkin'
even,
Donuts in Chester?
doesn't even look like doesn't
No.
even look like a McDonald's. If they want to
Chester-
be
Chester.
somewhere bad enough.
Amazing.
Yeah, the Burger King.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a
Really?
Dunkin' right on in Chester.
Yeah,
There's a house.
it's the house.
Look at
Yep.
this- look at
Doesn't
this
look like a
on the column.
Dunkin'. If one of these big corporations wants to be in your place bad enough,
Mendham, you're right,
all
Mendham,
of a
sorry.
sudden, you get approval.
But I guess what I'm getting at is,
But the board has to, they won't do it unless if they see it in a board
Correct,
resolution with a condition,
Yeah,
all of a sudden, they'll grant the waiver.
correct. Yes, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
If you ask them to ask, the answer will be no. If you impose it, 95% chance it'll be yes.
Correct, thank you. Okay, now I don't know where I am. All right, so that was 55. We're focusing on, we hear you with regard to landscaping. We'll even, we can provide some information regarding our analysis that I know Fred always does before he looks at, trends and other
Yeah.
sites, so we can come prepared with that information as well. Yeah, I think that was all the questions I had.
no, Kara, the only other thing I would say is that I didn't see in any of the reports is at some point, I think we should have a site view of where the houses are versus where
Sightline drawing.
sightline drawing
Right.
to the,
And so that
Buildings.
it doesn't become an issue, the viewing height, unlike if you're doing it from the street, it's 3 feet from sitting down in your car. It should be 5 feet, person standing in their backyard or looking out their first floor window. When
Yeah,
you do the
just-
sight line.
because I got the feeling, and I can't tell. I thought the site was down from the properties, but I can't tell.
Well, it might be down now, but after they bring in all the fill, it's gonna be up. That'll be a separate issue for the engineer.
All right, but what you're getting at is we want it from the first floor window,
Right,
not, not.
not
below
3 feet
deck
off the
all way
ground,
up.
for the first, for a typical first floor
Yeah.
window. Because if you don't do that, you're gonna bring it in and we're gonna waste time and
Yeah,
we end up having to do that.
A perspective I'm also very interested in is, given the difference of elevation from the height, from Route 202 to the display areas and the lights, I have some real concerns
but I thought
because
that-
there's 20, it's roughly 20 feet higher, plus the pole. So
Oh.
that's, I'm just envisioning going down 202 and that light's 40 feet in the air and
Okay.
it's going to be in my eyes, even if it's shielded.
Oh,
So I
okay.
have some real concerns about that. So if there's could be some
You
light,
have someone who can look at
light
that?
test or something, or
Yeah, you have
something that
someone
can
who
give
look
you a
at that?
better feel for that.
I was looking at the sheet and I was worried about the residents behind,
Well,
not,
yes,
not,
that's a whole
Yeah.
other issue for the residents and the
yeah,
light.
but I never thought of 202.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm asking the board's engineering expert, do you guys need something from them to look at that concern, or can you look at that concern without having something submitted from them?
I think there was something in your report.
I'm hearing we have a spillover onto 202 shown on the plans.
Well, it's not,
Like, you see what-
usually,
Right, she's saying if you're driving by, will it be distracting because you could look up and see a
you see
light?
the lights. Because it's not, there is technically no, the foot candles are within the standard, but because that thing's
Yep,
40 feet in.
is
the
it gonna be a beacon
engineer
that's
gonna
gonna draw your
testify to
attention?
Right, that's what
It's
she's,
about glare more than.
Yeah,
illumination.
Okay, it's more glare.
so, I mean, Kelly Such has done these sightline drawings before. So do one in the front, but the one in the front is a whole different purpose.
Right.
It is, that one is taken 3 feet off the road, so a driver's eyes, but that is a sight line to see what part, if any, of the light fixture would someone see? That's what she's asking about, right? Is that what you're
And
asking about?
yes, and the glare, so that
Yeah.
might impact driving up and down.
The lights stay on all the time?
No, they don't. I think we tapered them back to almost 20% overnight, just so the security cameras have enough vision to see anybody on the lot.
Okay,
That's the only reason.
So maybe on that thing, is that a note somewhere in these documents, or is this
I didn't
just,
see that.
you're telling us now?
I don't remember. reading.
About scaling back the lights?
Security lighting.
What sheet on the plan?
16 or 37 on the top right corner.
Does that, and that says that they will be taking down the 20%?
Let's take a look. We're gonna take a look right now.
But they do get.
Kelly, can you tell us what note it is?
Number 2, it doesn't say 20%.
It says lights shall be on a timer and on from dusk to dawn. Lights shall be dim during non-business hours, time, no business operation.
Okay.
So
we
it
need a
doesn't,
percentage.
it doesn't say a percentage.
They're dim now at the location you're at now, correct?
The location as far as Toyota
Yeah.
and Nissan? I'm not sure. I know that Hyundai and CarStar are. but I'm
They
not sure.
dim them after hours that, I mean, you're not, it's not like it's.
No, it's not.
You don't drive by
So,
and
but
say,
so that you would agree to dim them to the 20%
Yeah.
that you recommend, that
Yeah,
you.
if that's the number
that
between
testify.
20 and
So
25.
Kara, put that in your letter.
Yep.
And reference note number 2 on sheet
'Cause
16.
that would need to be modified.
Yeah,
you're saying 20 to 25% is normal?
I'm pretty sure that's what we have on there. yes.
Okay, so just
let them, whatever it is, let them put it in Kara's letter so you can see what they're saying. And then you'll ask your engineer, the expert, his opinion about it.
If he's happy when he comes back from his trip, right?
It depends. I'll text you Sunday night either way.
It's gonna be getting it on with the Swifty. All right, any other questions?
I just want to make a note that, I don't know if the one gentleman is from the public.
Oh, no, he's with our engineer's
Okay.
office.
Just want to make a note that there's no one,
But to be fair about this, there were about 5 or 6
4,
people.
yeah.
There were 4, well,
I saw 2.
okay, there were 3 people, according to our board secretary, and they left when we started to have the computer
computer.
problem.
Yes, you're correct.
So
Okay.
they may have figured that we weren't going to be able to fix it and get back on.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
So you're saying that Kara might have sabotaged the computer?
I actually thought it was the other way around, to be quite honest. Okay,
No
so 9:21,
Mhm,
we have our engineer.
mhm.
I think we all know what he's gonna testify to. What
Hey,
is
John,
the,
I have a formality question. Since those neighbors left because of a reason.
Well,
And
I already spoke to them. They were fine. And they said, because if I'm able to get the recording back up, that they will just listen to the YouTube recording. And then they would be informed by me when the application's carried to.
My question is not that. My question is, next time when we're here, if they do have question for this witness, do we allow it or
yeah, you
not?
have to allow it because he's not done testifying. The municipal land use law says every witness has to be subject to cross-examination. They're not subject to cross-examination until they finish their direct. He's coming back because there's a bunch of information he asked him for. Kara's going to send it in ahead of time, but it's all going to be subject to cross-examination
So
of
be
him.
prepared for,
Yeah, sure.
thank you.
Okay.
And the board has to decide, do you want to start the engineer knowing that you're going to knock off at 10 o'clock? Or just knock off now and have the engineer start clean at the continued hearing?
No, I think we have a half hour. I think we should give him the opportunity.
Okay.
okay, and maybe, I mean, we, again, know his normal course of testimony. If there's something specific, this is the one thing I'll ask, something specific that you know, you've seen, and you'd like us to have looked at more fully for the next hearing, that we'd appreciate, so we could be prepared for that. That might help speed things up a little bit. All right.
I'm already sworn in.
Yes, you are. Okay, Mr. Osuch, can you please state your name and qualifications for the board?
Kelly Osuch, O''SUCH. I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Virginia Tech. I graduated in 2012. I've been practicing civil engineering with a focus on site plans, site design, subdivisions in the state of New Jersey since 2012. I have a professional engineer's license in the state of New Jersey. It's in good standing and has been since 2018. I'm also a professional planner in the state of New Jersey since 2022, also in good standing. And then I also have engineering licenses in Pennsylvania, New York, and Florida. And then I've testified before various land use boards, zoning boards, planning boards throughout the state, also in front of this board before.
Okay, anyone have questions? Okay, we'll accept him as an expert.
Thank you very much. I do have an exhibit that he's going to use initially. It's a 2-page exhibit. You could just reference what that is, the title, the date, and indicate whether or not you prepared it, and then I'll hand it. out.
Is this gonna be some of the stuff that was emailed in this afternoon?
Yes, I have full copies.
Okay,
So it's a two-sheet exhibit that show aerial conditions of
so
the
can
site.
we do this?
However you want.
Yeah, let's have the existing site conditions exhibit would be marked as exhibit A1, and the proposed site conditions exhibit would be marked as exhibit A2. And we'll hold it. If you mark that big one, the big one goes in. Did you say you have?
Here, I have.
No, Kelly, listen to me. The big one is going to be a demonstrative exhibit. We're going to keep in the board file this 8.5 by 17.
Okay.
Unless you guys want a big one in the board file.
I think it's easier to see if somebody wants it.
Okay, then mark the big one A1.
Thank you.
One says existing, one says proposed. You guys got to share them with us. That's why they gave you extras. Yeah. Nope, we got
I think I
it.
brought my glasses.
So these are stapled, but it doesn't matter. The existing site conditions mark as A1, the proposed site conditions exhibit mark as A2.
Okay, can you just describe the location of the property and the properties and the existing conditions?
Yeah, so the subject properties, as Ms. Kaczynski previously noted, it's block 72.23, and it's lots 31 and 31.01. Lot 31 has 11.83 acres, and lot 31.01 has 12.78 acres. And both properties are located within the B2 commercial zone. And then on that exhibit that's in front of you, the eastern property, or the property to the right as it reads on the plan, is 31, lot 31. And the lot on the left, or the western portion of the property, is lot 31.01. As you can see on that existing conditions aerial, the property is surrounded to the north by Route 202, and then beyond that is the Aldi's and Kohl's shopping center. To the east by the Voorhees Corner Vet Clinic, as well as the Flemington Vet Hospital. To the south by Heritage Court and Lexington Circle, and to the west by Normandy Court. And both of those are part of the Concord Ridge community.
A quick question. Has this been color rendered at all, or is the aerial the actual colors, and then you just added the lot lines on top?
We added the lot lines, and then some of the existing features and some of the existing easements, which I'll get into, are
Color
colored
rendered.
just to bring them to attention.
Okay.
But not the, like the roof colors, the grass colors, the shrubbery colors, that's all.
Of the existing property surrounding, that has not been touched from the aerial image. So both lots 31 and 31.01 are currently undeveloped. As you can see from the aerial, there is some significant tree cover, a mature tree canopy, as the ordinance defines. And on lot 31, you can see there is an area within the center of the property that was previously cleared of those trees. And there's a little access road currently going up the center of the property to that clearing area. On the plan to the south, or to the bottom, I'll call it, of the property, there is an existing 100-foot wide JCP&L easement, and those yellow lines on the plan running through are the overhead lines that are within that 100-foot wide easement. And that goes through both properties, 31 and 31.01. And that easement also has a clearing to maintain those overhead wires and avoid any obstructions with the wires through there. Further to the south on that particular portion, there's some lines that are colored red and yellow, or red and orange. And those are stream buffers and riparian zones associated with a regulated ditch that is right along the southern property boundary. So there is a regulated area within that southern portion of the property. To the north of the property, bisecting or going through 31.01 and crossing a corner of 31 is another regulated ditch with associated riparian zones and stream buffers per the township ordinance and the state regulations. At that location in the front, there is a 100-foot wide cross access easement, and it's dashed in a black line on the plan. And that's the location that Ms. Kaczynski previously noted as the area that the DOT, as part of the subdivision of the two properties, noted as the location where any driveway
Can I see that?
for the two
Can
properties.
you guys point that out to at least our table and then bring the exhibit in front of all the board members and point that out?
So there's
It's that black rectangular
black
thing with
rectangle right
the
there.
dots,
Yes.
the dashes, the dashes.
Yep.
Anyone want to see that?
We see it, at this item.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you bring that, just take the big exhibit up to the board and point out?
I think it's that.
Wait, what are you talking?
You see, where we want to be?
Oh, okay.
And that will probably, once we get to
Okay.
A2, even if you want.
I
to
understand,
flip.
I know, but
This thing.
there's going to be some other questions on A too.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
I was in the middle of it.
okay.
The general site topography, I don't show contours on this drawing, but the general site topography, there's a high point or a ridge that runs through the center of both 31 and 31.01 that generally coincides with where that clearing is on lot 31. And off of that ridge line, there's a distinct break in drainage that some of the water goes to that regulated ditch that I previously mentioned on the south or the southern border of the property. And the remaining portion goes along to the northern portion of the property in that other ditch that I previously noted. So basically that clearing on the center of lot 31 is a high point of the property, and everything else kind of shells off in either direction from there. And then I also included on this image these gray hatchings or gray images, and those are representative of the regulated slopes in accordance with the township ordinance. So you can see there's a portion of regulated slope on the northern boundary right along the edge of Route 202, which from the way I see it is that was probably man altered or man created when they cut in Route 202 at that portion. And
And these are
then,
the light gray areas, correct?
correct.
They
And
look a
then,
little like parallelograms,
Yeah.
there's
correct.
two of them, okay.
And then there is a larger gray piece on the western portion of lot 31, right at the edge of the clearing that's shown in the aerial. And I also believe that that's a man altered or a
That's like
man
the
created.
southwest, the southerly, southwest portion of this, of lot 31.
Correct. And again, I believe that's man altered. That happened as part of that clearing of that area, kind of moving soil and altering.
What was the clearing done on? What was the purpose of the clearing on lot 31?
I don't know what it was done and when it was done, but it was cleared at one point in time. But then I believe the remaining portions of the regulated slopes are natural or pretty much unaltered.
I assume that your assumption is because the other two look like a parallelogram, they're very defined, and the other one looks like for lack of a better word, a blotch.
Correct. And the other ones generally follow the natural features associated with the
Okay.
ditch and the
Yeah.
stream. So they would be kind of naturally occurring objects, whereas the one that follows the road, it follows the road. And the one that's kind of next to the edge of the clearing, it's next to the edge of the clearing. So that generally kind of explains the existing conditions as shown here,
As shown on exhibit A1, right?
shown on exhibit A1.
Before you turn the page, could you provide some context around the existing drainage easement and the
Yes.
40-foot wide grantor's exception strip?
Sure. So the existing drainage easements on the eastern and southern portion of lot 31 were filed as part of a previous site plan application that was approved for the site, but never ultimately constructed. And it was associated with I believe it was a supermarket, but it was some type of retail facility.
And just to clarify, that was for lot 30,
Lot 31.
lot 31,
Correct.
not, okay. Just wanna make sure.
And then the conservation easement in the rear of that encompasses where those regulated areas that we were previously discussing. So those conservation easements were filed as part of that site plan approval to not touch the regulated areas.
And the 40-foot strip exception agreement?
That, I don't know the general, I don't know where that originated, but it's an easement area where nothing can be built. And there's an agreement between the two neighboring properties along the eastern boundary and this.
So has the language for that exception agreement been provided to our attorney to look at?
Well, the bottom line is anything proposed to be constructed in that stripped, the existing 40 strip exception?
As part of our application, no,
So not even any land grading or clearing?
not as part of our application.
So we don't have to worry about it if they're not doing anything in there. A2.
Yeah. That's good.
What is that you're putting up on the board?
This is sheet 7 of 37 of the plan set, unrevised from what was submitted to the board. So it's last dated 11/7/2024. So So as a result of this proposed development, there is going to be tree clearing and tree removal. And what this plan is depicting is the limits of where that tree removal is proposed. So the hatching or the crosshatch shown on this plan are the limits of the existing canopy that would be removed. So there's existing canopy along the eastern boundary that I think Ms. Drews was actually just speaking to, that is being remained undisturbed, untouched, and is forested and would remain forested. And then again, there's an area along the southern boundary that is along the regulated ditch that is not being proposed to be disturbed and is also forested and would remain.
So
in the
what
same
you're saying
condition.
is everything within the crosshatched areas, that would constitute the 68.5% tree canopy disturbance?
For lot 31, I have it as 64.21%.
Okay, so you're also proposing tree disturbance on lot 31.01?
Correct. And
Why do you
on
need
that is
that much tree disturbance to put in a little stinky, oh, that's the access.
correct. And there's some grading involved. Yeah.
Yeah. Strike the word stinky from the record.
Just to be clear, if you look at the area where the conservation easement is on the right hand, the existing conservation easement, there is some proposed clearing shown on the plan for that area.
Let's just make sure we know which one we're talking about. So in the south, westerly side?
Yeah, there's a little bump out like that. Yeah, so if you,
The limited disturbances.
Put it this way, if there's any disturbance proposed within a conservation easement, they're gonna have to go to the township committee to get relief from that.
that's why I'm bringing it up. So this area, the conservation.
That's the drainage easement. That's not the conservation.
Well,
The drainage easement has,
well, still, listen, it doesn't matter if it's a drainage easement to the township or a conservation easement to the township. You're gonna have to go to the township committee to get permission.
Correct.
that's why I'm bringing it up.
Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question on A2? Why are there either structures or gray areas indicated on lot 31.01 other than the access road or drive?
Yeah, so
That looks like proposing warehouses.
That's what it,
that's what
What is that?
we are showing that this property could potentially be developed, but that's not part of this current
So
application.
why do you have it on there?
Because we want to show that the roadway or the cross-access driveway that's coming in off of 202 will not only serve the application that's before you, but will serve lot 31.01 in any future application or
Right, but
development on that
it
property.
looks like you have a fairly good idea of what that application is going to look like.
Yeah, I mean, I have a call up specifically on the drawing that says potential future development not subject to. this
I
application.
understand, but where'd you get the details to know where the parking areas were and where the two buildings are?
There was a previous application before this board with that layout that never got approved that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so where did I pick up 68.5%?
Jeff's letter,
Huh?
Jeff's letter, I think. Number
Yeah.
55.
Okay, so let's find out exactly what I know 55% is the maximum allowed. Item 38, Jeff's letter.
38 on Jeff's letter, yeah.
So Jeff, where did you get that 68.5? He says it's 64 point what?
54.21% on lot 31.
So the rest of it is on lot
Does the
31.
68.5% include lot 31.01 there?
No, there's a separate number for 31.01 because it's a separate lot.
Okay, let me ask you this. What is the tree canopy clearing on lot 31.01 if it includes the proposed future development and not just the access road?
Well, I don't have that because I don't know what the future development ultimately will be.
Well, it looks like you have a pretty decent idea based on the last application.
We weren't, board hasn't approved it. It isn't
I
for the
thought I
board as
saw a
part of this
number
application.
somewhere. I thought I saw a number somewhere with the.
Because my
tree canopy
suggestion
on
is
both.
to
I could've sworn I saw-
resubmit, do another, an A3 to replace A2, and take off that, or if you're going to put it on, then show
yeah.
what type of relief it would need.
That's just for,
Yeah, that's what I think he's looking for.
no, he's asking what the entire development, mature canopy removal would be.
I'm asking if he's showing something on A2 on lot 31.01, I'm just curious. I mean, it looks like,
Because we've got the percentage just for the roadway. I thought that's what you were asking.
no.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And where is,
I mean, we could easily just take that out. I think that was more just for help, to be helpful, but.
why don't you take that out?
Yeah.
and give us an exhibit A3 for next time.
Yeah.
And we just have to nail down, where on the documents does it show 64.21 and how'd you calculate that?
It is shown on sheet 7. There are notes on the lower right-hand portion of the sheet, and it's based on the total mature canopy on the property. So that would be your existing.
We're gonna ask the board's landscape expert just to be between now and whenever it is to, try to check them and check that figure and.
Jeff, is there an issue of the lot area with the Route 202 right of way versus?
That's true.
My suggestion, instead of getting bogged down in this,
But that's Wasn't that one of your points in your review letter, that the right of way for 202 needs to be removed from the net lot area?
Maybe that, she's saying maybe that could
That would
result in
result in a higher
68.5%. But don't waste the time right now of doing it. Let him keep on going, but both you, the applicant should check into that, and the landscape expert, Jeff, should check into that. Thank you very much.
Can you clarify what you're talking about there? Because the right of way of 202 is not being counted in our calculation.
That was just the question I know Jeff posed. Because if our ordinance removes roadways and road right of ways from, isn't it a net calculation? So it's a net calculation.
Right, what I'm saying is if you're saying, yeah, the right of way of Route 202 is not included in our lot area or our calculation of the tree canopy area.
So we need to clear up where ours is versus yours. And we'll make sure that that right of way is not included. We don't think it is, but we'll make sure.
But it's, I think it says all road right of ways, right?
You're gonna
But
check.
look at the definition.
Just to close,
A2, so we.
yeah, well, no, I'm still on sheet 7.
Oh, okay, sheet 7.
Lot 31.01, as part of this development, which is strictly on lot 31.01, which I'll get into proposed conditions, is really only proposing the driveway and the culvert to get into the two properties. The mature canopy removal associated with that is 7.2% of what exists on lot 31.01. Okay. Now we can move on to okay, so this sheet is titled Proposed Site Conditions Exhibit. It's dated today, which is February 6, 2025. And it was prepared by my office, AKRF. So the image before you shows the same aerial image that was previously shown for the existing conditions aerial with the proposed development overlaid on top of it in a bright color.
Okay.
The proposed development on lot 31 includes 2 car dealerships, a Toyota dealership, which is on the left-hand side or the western portion of the sheet, and a Nissan dealership, which is on the right-hand or eastern portion of the sheet. The Toyota building has a footprint area of 33,287 square feet. And as currently proposed, the showroom of that would be 5,159 square feet. And that building currently is proposed with 30 service bays. The Nissan building is proposed at 23,160 square feet of footprint area. And of that is 4,363 is showroom area. And then that building has 13 service bays proposed.
Just to circle back to Mr. Gianotti's testimony, a part of the 30 service bays noted for the Toyota are wash bays, correct?
That's my understanding, correct?
And this is smaller than the current one.
No.
Toyota's smaller,
Right.
Nissan's not,
Right.
right?
That was the
Well, you're
previous.
talking about Toyota when you said 30, correct?
Yes,
So that's smaller than what you have right now.
Yes.
that the applicant has currently, yes.
Correct. So so technically, even, well, 30 bays, whatever, the building itself is smaller than what you currently have on 31.
That's
Or
my,
202, whatever.
that's my understanding.
And we're gonna provide, I think there was a question, I'm not sure if Ms. Drews or Schaefer, the total, or actually, John,
The
maybe
actual
asked, the
square
total
footage
square
will be in
footage,
her
we're gonna
record.
provide that.
Okay.
Can I?
No,
No, you can't.
No. Thank you though, Jim.
So for the proposed building setbacks, the Toyota structure, building on the left of the plans here, the front yard setback from Route 202 is 117 feet and 117.36 feet. The side yard to the west, which is the common boundary with lot 31.01, is 108.33 feet. And to the rear yard, so next to the Concord Ridge community, is 330 feet, 330.41 feet. The Nissan structure is proposed with a front yard of 136.27 feet. The side yard to the east, so nearest the Voorhees Corner Vet and the Flemington Vet Clinic, is 231.35 feet. And then again to the rear, where the Concord Ridge community is proposed at 244.3 feet. And all of those setbacks for those main structures comply with the setback ordinances or the bulk of our bulk ordinances for the B2 zone.
Just a quickie, not to throw you off, you figured out where Jeff's 68.5% came.
Oh, go ahead.
When the initial application was submitted, for the plans, it had a note on it. Percent existing mature tree canopy supposed to be removed 68.5%.
That's where it is. Okay.
So it's been updated since
It's
the
changed.
original.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
The two building heights, the Toyota building is proposed at 30 feet per the ordinance definition. And the Nissan building is proposed at 28.07 feet per the ordinance definition. And both comply with the 35-foot limit within the zone. Floor area ratio, the Toyota floor area is, total floor area is proposed at 35,740 square feet. And the Nissan floor area is proposed at 25,253 square feet. And then that results in a floor area ratio on the property of 16.71%, which is well under the 25% maximum within the zone. So as I've alluded to, and Ms. Kaczynski has alluded to, the proposed dealership structures will be accessed via a driveway being proposed on lot 31.01. That driveway is 30 feet wide and will serve this development and any future development on lot 31.01. The driveway will requires a DOT permit, which is currently been filed and is pending. The traffic engineer can talk more to that at the next hearing when, assuming we get to the traffic engineer at the next hearing.
It's actually been approved, just to quickly clarify,
Okay.
the permit's been issued, but he'll give you, the exact status of everything. But that permit's been issued, yes.
And to
I believe so. If not, I'll get it to you, but no, okay. I thought it was part of the traffic report, but don't worry, we'll get it to you, Jeff.
Yeah. Part of that driveway proposes a box culvert to cross that regulated ditch that I previously noted along the northern portion of lot 31 and lot 31.01. That box culvert is proposed at 53.3 feet from the front yard. But there are some wing walls that come off of the actual main structure. And the wing wall to the front yard is proposed at 25 feet. And then from the side yard, since it crosses over lot 31 and into 31.01, the setback is 0, or it crosses the lot line associated with that structure.
Kelly, we're going to give you a 5-minute warning, but there is one question I need to ask you before tonight.
Okay. How much time do we have before the 5-minute warning?
Well, we're at
They
five.
should speak up now.
All right. So do you want to just,
So why don't we ask
yeah, ask the question.
Karen
End
asked
it
at
with
the
the
beginning
culvert.
that we give her, if they give them anything.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I have a question, okay?
Yep.
So, looking at here, okay, there was the access that was gonna come out by Flemington Vet,
Yep.
and you're abandoning that?
We are not abandoning it. It is not part of our application, other than the fact that we are providing an easement to the township since, this is going to be later in my testimony, but I'll go through it now.
Sorry.
You're talking about the proposed master plan road.
Correct.
Now, is the master plan road shown on exhibit A2?
It is very, very light.
Shallow. It's around
Yes.
The trees, that's why your trees are set up like that,
Correct.
and then it goes down.
Yep.
and then
Correct.
It makes a
So
short
when you-
handle, it comes up by the 23.
Correct.
When you
What
submit
color?
exhibit A3.
It's a light gray.
When you would submit exhibit A3 and you eliminate the proposed potential future development on 31.01, can you use a different color and put the proposed easement that the applicant's willing to give for the master plan road on this so we can see it?
Sure.
Make those dashes thick.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
can't see that. Make the dashes thick.
Yeah, or do something.
I can't. see
That easement was part and parcel of the prior approval, which has since been long abandoned and basically null and void. The easement is still recorded and still exists.
Like,
But
who's
it's-
the beneficiary of that easement?
The,
Because whoever it
I
is,
have a copy
you're
of
gonna
it.
want to get that released, and then assuming the board approves this, you're gonna then record a new right-of-way easement for the master plan road.
Yeah, I would say it's, I know it's, the seller gave it, was the grantor. I'm assuming it was probably Raritan Township.
That's what I'm guessing,
Yeah.
but you gotta check that out.
I will. I know I have it. I just don't have it here with me.
Okay, so that's one question. What else?
And I don't know if you can answer it, okay? I'm assuming that this design on this other property, which is just guesswork right now,
Correct.
would also feed into that traffic, that easement, correct?
So part of the master plan road, and again, this is within that 2008 master plan, within the circulation, there is a sketch, I'll call it, that basically envisions for the township a connection from Rayville Road and Flemington, the borough of
Well,
Flemington.
you submitted that, it's this, you submitted it to us.
That's directly out of the master plan,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
I have copies for everybody.
So why don't you
There's
hand
a,
out copies so they can take them home. And
Well,
why
it
don't we,
was hard to figure out what it was.
why don't we make this, instead of, your new exhibit A2 is now gonna be exhibit A4.
Yep.
You know why? Because what's being handed out now is gonna be exhibit A3.
Oh, so, all right, so this gray,
Listen, and if you,
okay.
are you handing them out in black and white or color?
Nope.
Black and white. Black and white.
I know, you're gonna, next time you're gonna bring a nice color, large one like I picked it for myself.
I knew you would want this. That's why I made copies. I brought it with me.
so our understanding of the sketch that was provided in the circulation portion of that master plan in 2008 envisions a connection from Rayville Road to Voorhees Corner Road as depicted on this image, and it goes through the subject property, which is lot 31, lot 31.01, and the neighboring property to the west, which is block 72.23, lot 32, and that is the municipal boundary of Raritan Township and Flemington Borough. And then you're into Flemington Borough, connecting in with the shops at Flemington.
Okay,
So there's, not only is it, well, I should say, it's envisioned the way we understand it in Raritan Township's master plan, but I don't know if it was ever envisioned within Flemington Borough's master plan. And then
We actually, sorry, go ahead.
and then Voorhees Corner Road is a county road, so the connection would have to also appease the county.
okay, all right, thank you.
And so our understanding and what we're doing for the township is we are giving the township an area on the property via easement that they could come and take in the future and potentially build that road that they envision. It's not, the actual physical road is not part of this application, just an area that the township could potentially take
It's
to
not
build
that
that
you
road.
potentially take, you're giving them, you're proposing to give them a right-of-way easement,
An easement,
okay?
Yeah.
So you're giving them that easement. They, if they want, can come and construct the road over the easement.
correct.
Yeah.
But
And
we're not
if-
constructing.
And the reason for that, the way that Mr. Drill described it, that is why we designed it in such a way where none of the proposed improvements would interfere with that easement area should the township decide to come and use it in the future.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, do we want to talk about
So-
future?
Yeah, well, just a couple things, just real quick. When you come back, I'm going to be really interested in learning about the cut fill on the property and if the original calculations that were submitted are still valid and
Okay.
how you propose that massive amount of fill export is going to be dealt with. And then also, I really am going to have to hear an awful lot about the porous pavement and how you're going to maintain that and do all the, when you're going to have all those cars parked on it.
Okay. You know, in the next meeting.
Any other questions?
Anyone else? Anyone? Any of the board professionals?
Nope.
And there's nobody in the public for the record. Question, so all of this information that you're asking for Kara, did you want that the 10 days before? Or does that not count towards it?
No, it doesn't have to be, it does not have to be 10 days before.
Okay,
It's up to them. The more days in advance
Ahead.
they give it to the board members, it'll make less questions presumably at the continued hearing. That's going to be up to them.
okay, so then the first meeting I can offer you guys is April 3rd.
So it's continued.
What, they didn't confirm.
I know. Does the board have any interest in entertaining a special meeting?
Probably not, because they've been meeting twice a month for 3 years.
Oh my God.
I've told you both, we're like booked till June.
I was hoping the technical difficulties might work out here.
No.
I- All right,
While
we'll
she's
carry.
looking at that, what is the date by which they have to decide this application?
Jeffrey, can you read it?
31st.
So obviously, we're gonna want an extension.
I'll put that in that letter, John.
Yeah, June 30th. So unless they tell me differently, the hearing in this matter is going to be continued to April 3, 2025, without the need for further notice. They agreed to extend the time within which the board has to decide the application to June 30th. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Good luck, Cal.
Second?
Second.